I have, as a CFO, and like many of our listeners, do not only finance and accounting, but some other responsibilities. And this is nothing new for CFOs now over the past decade or two, that they've become more multidisciplinary, more cross-functional. And I love it for the role of CFO. So I own also legal and also corporate development. And corporate development is the group in many companies, and certainly our company, that assesses the product in partnership with product marketing and the actual product management group, and begins to develop a sense of where we have gaps that we could fill to better serve our customers. And also, of course, to grow our own business and create value for our shareholders. And so that is a strategic function for me. I work cross-functionally to develop a market map and understand the trends, historical and emerging, in FP&A. And one of those trends, of course, is XP&A, or planning outside of the Office of Finance, planning other than in general ledger codes. And that is inclusive of things like what I mentioned about the SDR team. They plan in number of dials needed to get a connect and how long they're on a phone call. And they resource their group around those metrics. And one of the areas that struck us as very, very ripe for an elevated amount of tooling and education around planning was marketing. So marketing, traditionally one of the biggest cost centers. And I think many finance people will nod their heads when I say a bit of a black box, takes a lot of investment, and there's not a great way, at least historically, to understand the return on that investment. Sure, you can measure things like revenue and amount of dollars spent on marketing per dollar of revenue you get, but those are just two total disconnected. The one is at the very tip and one is at the very end. And there's a whole bunch of metrics in between there that can be understood and planned around. And so what does marketing do when they get on an annual basis? Let me step back. On an annual basis, you run the financial planning, the budget process. And if finance is good at what they do, they're partnering with each of the departments, including marketing, to develop what marketing thinks they need to spend on things like programs and humans that year, and events, et cetera. But then traditionally they lock in on a number and then they being finance, hands it over to marketing. The board approved, you have $10 million to spend on programs. But then it's a black box to finance, right? And what marketing will do, they will take that $10 million and they will cascade that out into campaigns. And they'll resource those campaigns with people, with PR resources, with ad spend, with content creation, content management. If there are any CMOs listening, I'm doing my best on what you guys do. But it's that campaign level planning. But they don't even have the ability to completely link the outcomes of those campaigns. How much did that event, that webinar we did, generate for us in terms of lead flow? There are swim lane issues and et cetera. So this just screams for technology. Like, it's 2023. We have the technology to be able to link the finance plan, cascade that into campaigns, and then link the ROI from things like the CRM and the ad networks. And what we found when we went out, my corp dev function and I, into the market, was that a company called Plannuh, Plannuh, Boston company. Some of you will get that joke, Plannuh. And they were doing this. They were a relatively early stage startup, but they had built the perfect mousetrap to take what finance gives a marketer, plan it out the way marketers actually run their business, and track the ROI. And it was an aha moment, a finance strategic moment, that the founder and I both saw the synergies between what FP&A planning platforms do and what that marketing performance management platform did. And we said, this is 1 + 1 = 5. It's not even 1 + 1 = 3. It will closely interlink finance and marketing for maybe the first time in the history of business. And it's been very successful so far. So that deal closed in September, and it's been off to the races. We've now got a couple common customers selling into Planful's relatively large customer base, and certainly have been out in the market pounding the table, saying that every finance and marketing team should be wanting this to help improve their alignment and help them speak the same language.